Welcome. Welcome to this week's BTO talk on generative AI. My name is Michael Alf, calling from Lisbon, and BTO works with companies to assess where they are, help them on their AI journey, do executive education, and really take them on the digital and AI transformation. And I'm here only with one partner this time. Rob, over to you. Great to have you here today.
Yes, thanks, Michael. Good to join you. For looking forward to our session today. Yeah, Rob Thurner, one of the founders here at Beyond the Obvious. I'm working with clients direct and with business schools on their transformation programs, and of course, AI and generative AI sitting right at the heart now of so many of our proposals and so many of our projects we're working on. So today we're looking at two areas. First, we'll be looking at recruitment and the role of generative AI in recruitment. And secondly, we'll be looking at how we can help organizations wanting to move from experimentation into more extensive uses of generative AI and a process that can help you there. So kicking off first there with recruitment. Now, we've heard for some time that being able to select candidates is absolutely Gen AI friendly. We can save a lot of time scanning, but it goes beyond this. And Michael, I'd love to get your input here on a survey that you've seen recently and share with us the results. Who was the most effective, the human recruiter or the AI recruiter?
Thank you very much, Rob. Yes, it's really an interesting one. And to give you a little bit more context, I had yesterday half-day workshop with a group of master's students, middle management. So they take a break, career break, and do their master student here at the Nova Business School. It was really interesting, and I shared this one as well because most people, and we talk a lot about the human in the loop, and that empathy is important and all these things, yeah, for certain processes. And there's total agreement, yeah. And still, I think we all need to work on that and actually refine that and look what is true and what is not true. And this is really, really hard to tell. I must say, I was surprised by these results. And this study, it's actually quite a study with statistical and scientific analysis and report after that, compared a recruiter, a human recruiter, so doing the interviews, and an AI voice agent doing the interview. Yeah, so you have a pure human, pure AI, and not to your surprise, kind of that why we bring that topic up, the results of the AI voice was significantly better. And this is both in terms of the number of offers, acceptance, and also retention, which of course is the key one. So are the people who are joining the company actually staying, or are they saying after a short while, this is kind of the wrong place? Yeah, there's no cultural fit. And so it was a significant one. So I think it's around the 10% mark in terms of difference, which is significant. I brought that up also yesterday and caused, of course, some surprise there in the audience. And it's an interesting one in the way that it triggers us to rethink certain things. I'm not saying the voice agent is better. Yeah, far from that. What I am saying is we need to be open to see kind of where makes what more sense. Yeah, and how do you combine the two elements? And these examples give us kind of even this nudge to say, well, maybe it is actually different, yeah, in this space. And how do we approach that? Yeah, so it's not a kind of statement, well, do everything with AI or do everything with voice agents. No, not at all. But it's kind of it's a surprising result which you have to take into account.
Yeah, it's a surprising result, and I think if you break it down, matching the requirements of the role with the proven capabilities of the candidate, clearly there's a match there. That's the easy one. But I look back at the logo of my shoulder here, and having worked a lot at Google and seen how the hiring process, which is highly automated in terms of looking for capabilities and matching to type of role they will join. But beyond that, once they join the business, of course, their roles are moving very rapidly. They can look at the performance of candidates and then shift them around within business. It's typically every 2 years, they'll be shifting roles. But the bit they look for in these interviews is this concept of googliness. Do they have the right kind of personality? Would they fit? And are they likely to stay beyond, certainly the probation, but then into the months and years that follow? And this is really interesting, and I find it alarming that in many ways that an agent could predict future longevity within roles. So back to your point, experimentation. This is not a switch, A or B.
Absolutely.
You're doing one or the other, but to experiment and try this out with certain roles and see what the results are. And it may be that certain roles are better suited to this than others.
Absolutely.
Certainly on the technical side, one would think,
yes.
but maybe more empathy-based roles, there would be a less obvious fit. So super interesting results there. Very interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. And we had this discussion, and then one person said, well, that doesn't work for C-level. And said, yes, of course, I agree. So there's no disagreement. And the point is not that this is true or that is true. It's like, well, it's a data point. It's interesting. And you can actually test that yourself. So the other thing I shared, I developed a role play GPT, so a bot or agent, where you basically, so you play a manager, and then an employee comes in, and you talk about the upcoming AI projects, and the involvement. And so I tested it out for this training, and instead of just a quick test of a minute or so, actually I myself in my own simulation was sitting there for, I don't know, 5 minutes, maybe even 8 minutes or so, because it was so interesting, the whole flow. So I was like, and this is like, I built that, and I'm still fascinated, kind of captured by the flow and the tonality and the responses, in this particular scenario, which was really interesting to see. So you can test that out as well, in a chat environment, so a text-based environment, because sometimes you could also have a hiring process, where you do a text interview, so instead of a voice
absolutely. As there's so much job mobility at the moment with new opportunities arising, on either side, if you are in the HR department and you're looking to prepare for an interview, doing a mock interview, uploading the resume of the person you're interviewing, coming up with a series of questions that you may not have all thought through fully or found all those examples, and then flip it the other way. Of course, if you're a candidate looking for a role, then the role play and understanding about the business and the role and the sorts of questions you should be expecting and then asking, that role play using your GPT is going to prepare both. So when you turn up at the interview, you're more relaxed because you feel better prepared. Okay, so let's move on. Interesting, yes. Michael. Thanks for sharing that. So the second area we're looking at today is understanding the maturity level of the organization and helping them to map out their journey. Where should they be going? And so there are three parts to this. I think the first one we're gonna role play this, talking of role play, extending that, Michael. So I'm going to be asking you. I've actually got a call this afternoon with a manufacturing client, and this is exactly what we're going to be talking about. So I'm interested to do the role play. You're doing this right now, I know, with another client right now. So the three parts are the purpose. How does an audit or assessment, and let's discuss the difference between the terminology there. How does that work? What's the purpose? What's the methodology which is proven to work well in terms of, survey or interviews? And then thirdly, what are we doing with that output? How are we then turning that into some recommendations that can help the client on their journey? So let's start with the first one there. So the goal of the audit or assessment, how would you, if you were in the elevator and you were pitching this, what would be your high level sell?
Yeah, so I would say, first of all, if you want to participate and ask questions, the QR code on the top, again, works into the WhatsApp group. I forgot that in the beginning. So what I would say is like, well, you're probably in a similar situation that you kind of dabbled into this AI. You might have done some trainings, maybe tried some things out, some tools, maybe some using ChatGPT, but somehow you don't really know kind of where you stand. Does it sound right?
Yeah, so then there will be different views based on who around the business has got involved and what experiments they've come up with. But the likelihood is they are sitting in silos and they haven't coordinated this, and it's rather difficult for the organization to extract all those insights. So yes, so getting a start point. Where are we? Who has done what? So that's a good framing. Now, as we then look at doing the assessment and audit, and Michael, let's just, for the sense of methodology, let's not get stuck on the words, but there is an expectation difference here between an assessment and an audit. What would you say are in your experience, go back to your Capgemini days, what are the differentiators there?
Yeah, I think when you look from a spectrum, so you have the assessment here and a full audit here, into a kind of even a professional accounting audit. Yeah, that's auditors. So that's they do months of work in a company. Yeah, so we have that extension, and we do some assessments for a training. In terms of the current skill sets, expectations, and then in between you have the space where you do have assessments which are larger. So, and they can go for, let's say, 2 weeks or maybe 4 weeks, with actually really deep diving without kind of really super deep. So when you do this kind of an audit, I would say that's more like I don't know, maybe 6 to 8 weeks, maybe with a small team, where you deep dive even further, to get into details. And that depends a little bit, of course, on the size of the organization as well.
Absolutely.
So a smaller one is an assessment kind of already delivers the value, because you have a quick overview and understanding. Where if you, let's say, go for a manufacturing company, they are typically highly complex, with all their functions and the size and the factories and things like that. Then it's an audit that is, of course, also from an investment perspective. Then you talk about, let's say, somewhere between 40,000 to 100, even 100,000 is possible, maybe 80,000, something like that, depending on the size.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Great. And so then we look at the methodology. So survey and automated survey results, and then interviews. So the program you're doing at the moment, what would you say is the optimum balance there between the surveys and the interviews, and the focus of the interviews to truly understand where, not just what they're doing, but maybe their experience of that pilot project, what they learned and what they're struggling with there?
Yeah, it's a great question. So it's I believe what is really important is to have a number of interviews, and that really depends on the size of the organization, which gives you a complete perspective, ideally, of the whole company, if that's the scope. If not, then of course kind of a portion of it. But within that, talking to representatives of each function, each element. Because one of the biggest problems still in companies, and it's from smaller companies to large companies, is the silo thinking. Only very few companies have any kind of process across kind of their functions. So they're all more functional. And this is where typically the breakpoints happen. And this is, you get that partially and really with the biggest and most valuable input, that you actually talk to people for an hour, maybe 90 minutes, again, depending on the size of the company mainly, and the complexity of the operations and the processes. And that gives you so much valuable insight. And then you complement that with things like, what systems are you using now? What AI projects are already on the go? Kind of what's the big experience there? Have you done other, let's say, audits or summaries or insight sessions or anything like that, which adds on that? Do you have SOPs? So standard operating procedures. Do you have other documentation of how you do things? Again, not all companies have that. Actually, many companies don't have that, and not up to date. So that's all these information you can gather on a larger one, and that you bring all that together.
And then that's the last point, just to wrap this up then. So we've got a potentially very broad range of data points that we then need to pull into some insights and then make some recommendations. So I imagine there's a role for Gen AI here, Michael, in looking for some common themes and looking for verbatim quotes that can demonstrate and illustrate the insights. Any insights here from you about this process and how quickly that can be done, and what's the output for the client?
I think it's good. Great point again, to reconsider and think about, and that is our task, as your partner and supporter in how to do that. And I think there's more opportunities in assessing these information. And yes, the GenAI plays a role there. So yeah, we do have and we are developing kind of these assessment agents, if you like, that help us, of course, with the work. And you have to come up with the processes, how the processes work step by step, ideally, because then you can start actually looking where does AI might make sense, and then from there you calculate the potential ROI, and then you prioritize, because you don't want to start, let's say, 10 things at the same time. So you want to understand where the ROI is the highest, or what is the easiest to start with. This mix is then in discussion with the CEO, for example, so that the CEO then decides, okay, we start here to get warm, and then we go here, and then we do something else as well. So that's kind of that process to deliver this input. And of course, what we try is to accelerate the whole process. This used to take quite a long time, but of course, by using GenAI at the right elements in our process, we are able to kind of condense that a little bit and compress that, and still get the same results.
Excellent. Great. Well, look, that's a very thorough explanation, Michael. So thanks very much for framing that. And we're doing this at the moment. So if you're looking, you've started the journey, you've got pockets of expertise, but you're looking to pull this together and then draw out some insights that you can put into your plan, please get in contact. So there is the QR code. Please jump in there, join the group. We would love to help you on your journey here. And with that, Michael, thanks for your time. Thanks to all of you for joining us. And we'll look forward to seeing you next week. And we expect Marcus will be back with us. So in the meantime, have a great weekend. See you then.